Let me ask you a question. Do you think guys fall for girls faster, or do girls fall for guys faster? Damn! Feel free to type your thoughts in the chat as well. It might take a girl a very long time to fall for a guy, but a guy only needs 8.2 seconds to fall for a girl. But have you noticed, if a guy never confesses, you'll never know he likes you. So today, let's talk about the signs that a guy is falling in love. In other words, even if the guy were mute, by reading these 6 signs, you can still tell in advance he is definitely into you. These 6 signs are the 8-second confirmation, respecting differences, releasing vulnerability, remembering details, costly signals, and lumbar disc herniation. First up is prolonged gazing. This kind of prolonged gaze can sometimes make a woman feel uncomfortable, and it's also been referred to as the male gaze. But there is a scientific study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior Researchers, recruited 115 college students and had them interact with some male and female actors. And what they found was absolutely stunning. That is to say, if a guy likes a particular female actor, his gaze will linger on her for an average of about 8.2 seconds. Moreover, if a guy looks at the female actor for 8.2 seconds, it often signals that he finds her extremely attractive and might even consider her as a potential long-term partner. But with women, it's different. Even when a woman likes someone, she won't stare at him. In fact, women detest being stared at. From the perspective of evolutionary psychology, back in ancient times, when women held a more vulnerable position, being watched by a strange man essentially posed a physiological risk as if she was being targeted. So women really dislike the male gaze. But if a guy likes someone, he'll look at her for more than 8.2 seconds. If he dislikes someone, he'll typically look away by about the 4.5 second mark. Sometimes you might perceive this as the male gaze, but for men, it doesn't seem to be that way at all. They're just visual creatures. They're just enjoy looking. And if you like a guy and notice that he can't help but look at you too, hey, that could very well be one of the signs that he's into you. The second sign that a guy likes a girl is called respecting differences. Let me give you a simple example. Generally speaking, most girls don't pick their feet, but let's say you do. A guy who likes you will say, wow, this girl is bold and unrestrained. For instance, if a girl has mostly male friends, people around her might gossip about it. But if a guy likes her, he will understand and accept her approach to friendship, thinking to himself, that's just who she is. The first sign is a bit more abstract. It's called releasing vulnerability. Think about it. Isn't it often the case that when a man is getting to know a woman, he wants to show off his more powerful side? He wants to display his dominant, strong qualities. But if his liking for you has grown to a certain degree, to the point of love, he will actually reveal his vulnerable side. From a biological perspective, this behavior is closely linked to a chemical in the brain called oxytocin. Oxytocin is also known as the cuddle hormone. What does oxytocin feel like? It feels like a warm, cozy, blissful sensation. So, what is the purpose of oxytocin in humans? Why do humans need hugs? Well, a hug actually lowers your blood pressure. When you're under too much stress or bombarded by too many external stimuli, sometimes you just need a hug. So if a man sees a woman and unilaterally falls into a state of adoration for her, what symptom will appear? He feels a sense of safety and security when he's with this person. As a result, his body naturally secretes oxytocin. And once this oxytocin kicks in, he will reveal the vulnerable side of himself that he is normally unwilling to show anyone else. So why does he involuntarily reveal his vulnerability? He just feels. This is something I can talk to you about. Why is this a manifestation of love? Because one of the effects of oxytocin is inhibiting the fear response in the brain's amygdala when a man shows his vulnerability, for instance. Talking about his failures, his pain, his fears. It means the level of oxytocin in his system is high enough to shut off his internal alarm system against being ridiculed or rejected. That's just how deeply in love with you he already is. The fourth sign is called costly signals. What does costly signals mean? Well, basically, most men's brains operate like a finely tuned calculating machine. It might sound a bit harsh, but that does seem to be the case. That's what I read in that report. And after giving it some serious thought, I'd say it checks out. They tend to calculate the return on investment. I wouldn't go so far as to call it scheming, but in a sense, everyone is calculating to some degree, aren't they? However, if a man truly falls for a woman, he will voluntarily abandon that calculation. He will subconsciously and on his own initiative pour his own scarce resources into her. Let me give you a simple example. A wealthy man, what would he invest? Money? No, money is not his scarce resource. Time is his scarce resource. If a rich man truly loves you, he will be especially willing to invest his time in you. That's actually a kind of psychological projection, he figures. My scarce resource must be your scarce resource too. Conversely, if a man hasn't yet made much money, then the scarce resource he invests will be money. In other words, he abandons that precise calculation. So, from a scientific perspective, when a man evaluates a woman as having long-term partner value, his brain secretes vasopressin and dopamine, which shut down this cost-benefit calculation mechanism. To an outsider, this looks like a lovesick brain acting recklessly without considering the costs. This is why people sometimes call a guy a fool for love, because in his internal operating system, this person is my long-term partner, and that's why I'm acting this way. Doesn't spending money on her equal spending money on me? We're going to spend our whole lives together. That's the feeling. So, falling into a lovesick state is actually a deeper, more sophisticated calculation, a high-level calculation that doesn't ask about winning or losing. The fifth sign is called remembering details, or what you might call selectively enhanced memory. When a man falls in love, his dopamine and norepinephrine levels rise, which enhances his hippocampus's ability to encode specific information. In other words, his memory gets better. Actually, this applies to all humans. What kind of things do people remember especially well? First, things they're interested in. Second, things that are personally relevant to them. That means if a person loves you, a very important sign is that he feels everything about you is relevant to him. Not just your business, but his business too. And because he is interested in you, he will remember your details with extraordinary clarity. For example, ordering milk tea without milk, saying no to cilantro, or having a fondness for garlic, it's all in the details, right? In short, these are the little things that people around you normally wouldn't notice, but he remembers them. To some extent, this is a manifestation of falling in love, because such details are usually the sort that nobody cares about. Only the person who truly cares about you will care. The sixth sign is called lumbar disc herniation. Actually, what this means is that the guy especially wants to get physically close to the girl. But because they're probably still in the ambiguous phase, he can't directly make intimate contact. For instance, he can't just reach out and take your hand. So what you'll notice is that when he walks, he often walks at an angle. He doesn't walk alongside you in parallel lines. Walking diagonally is his way of trying to intersect with you. You'll find that he walks closer and closer. Clearly, there's a perfectly straight path to take, but no, he just has to edge you right toward that tree pit. This is one of the signs that he's into you. He is physically attracted to you. He just wants to be physically closer to you, maybe hoping for a brush off the shoulder. It's as simple as that. In 2023, Didio Nato published an article titled "In the Signs of Romantic Relationships," in which it is written that the very definition of liking inherently includes the motivation to seek closeness. This kind of liking intensifies as familiarity increases and drives people to actively seek out physical contact. In other words, the next time he passes you a drink or hands you a glass of water and your hands touch, to put it bluntly, he's constantly pushing his luck. To put it nicely, he's steadily escalating the intensity of physical closeness. So, if a guy checks all these boxes and you happen to like him too, guess what? Just get together already. You'll get together right away, then argue, then break up. And if you don't argue and don't break up, you'll plunge into an even more painful cycle. Get married, have kids, then grind it out together for a solid 20 years to raise the kid. Oh my God, terrifying, right? Then buy the kid a house, then help the kid get married. Damn, that's way too terrifying. And if only one of these signs is present, it's very likely nothing more than the drive of desire, just so you know. Alright, that's it for today. Class dismissed.